This speech today is based on street art, also known as urban art and graffiti, and pop art for the modern day. Street art, also known as urban art, was a big artistic movement in the 80s, whose influence is alive more than ever in modern day art today. It was a form of public artwork made for expression of self and the mind's thoughts through illusions, vibrant colors, and realism. Many mediums for this art form are graffiti, sticker art, poster art, video projection, art intervention, guerrilla art, flash mobbing, and street installations. A lot of these pieces are done by local artists who are truly involved or are knowledgeable on their community and their surroundings. It's considered as art that speaks rather than vandalism. Graffiti, 80s graffiti that is, defined as images or lettering painted on marked or property. It is an ancient form that dates back since ancient Greece and Roman Empire, having to do with hieroglyphics or things of that nature. Modern day graffiti mediums are spray paint or markers or any form of artwork on public property that may seem as vandalism. Eventually, graffiti went from vandalism to a form of urban art or a form of expression for any urban artist. It's not only used on murals or literally on the street, it's also used in advertising, painting, studio art, and installations. It was started on the subways of New York. Its main purpose at the time was political and used for tagging purposes. It later grew into an urban culture influence from New York to LA, especially with the help of movies like Wild Style, and also a movie called Style Wars. It also influenced great artists such as Fab Five Freddy, who's also known through the hip hop community for being a DJ and artist, a graffiti artist, also for helping produce some tracks for one of the famous 70s groups called Blondie, and is also known for doing his own hip hop rap work. This is another piece by Fab Five Freddy. Another artist also known is Keith Haring. Keith Haring was an artist and social activist who studied graphic art, moved to New York City, and was inspired by graffiti art. His first public art was chalk drawings, bold lines, vibrant colors, and figures stood for life and unity. One of his first famous pieces was known as The Radiant Baby. His work was known world around. He was one of the biggest 80s pop art icon. He was best known for his murals, political themes, merchandise, commercial work for Absolute Vodka, Lucky Strike, and Coca-Cola Andy Warhol. So Keith Haring's sculptures were also like Leverhouse. Most of his artwork consisted of the figures who appeared as such. Right here we have Andy Warhol, who is a main influence on people such as Keith Haring and many other artists around the 80s who were doing pop artwork. He was a painter, a printmaker, and a filmmaker, one of the most influential pop artists of our time. He helped pave the way for artists such as Jean-Michel Basquiat and Haring and many others. He was best known for taking household name brand products and turning them into timeless pieces, such as the Coca-Cola bottles, the Campbell soup cans, and other pieces like Liza Minnelli portrait and Marilyn Monroe. Jean-Michel Basquiat started as a graffiti artist in New York City. He's best known in the 80s for being a neo-expressionist artist. He was well known for taking some of his realism graffiti art and mixing them together. His influence and also his confidant at the time was Andy Warhol. Style Wars, which is another movie I had mentioned earlier, who had a great influence as far as to let everyone know at the times about graffiti artwork and also about breakdancing. Was an early documentary on hip-hop culture showing the upcoming rise and struggle of graffiti artists and breakdancers. Another artist who was filmed in that also was Fab Five Freddy, who also helped out with that, and he also helped out in Wild Style. It is one of the greatest graffiti documentaries of our time. It displayed graffiti more as an art form rather than vandalism, and most of the artists who spoke on there also spoke of it as such. Some of the artists include Dez, that's his 80s art piece on a subway train in New York, and this is one of his modern day pieces. He still does some work till this day. He did some work for Mountain Dew. Another artist is Don D. He's no longer alive today, however, he's also well known for his work pieces on the subway trains around the 80s. Also Futura, who still does work to this day. This is one of his 80s pieces, and this is one of his pieces in modern day. Another artist also who appeared in the film Style Wars is The Wiz, who did a lot of his artwork on murals and also some on the subway trains. It slowed down a little in the 90s, but took a rebirth in the turn of the millennium through video games, music, fashion, and TV. World around it is radical, political, and vibrant. Many modern-day pop artists strongly believe in the forefathers of graffiti as an influence for their work today. One of the places in the local area of Miami who caters a lot to the pop art or the graffiti art or anything of that nature is a gallery in Wynwood, Miami called Anti-Culture. They have a lot of receptions and a lot of grand openings that they do throughout the month, probably 2 or 3 times a month. A lot of their regulars in there are Tatiana Suarez, Robert Guymek, who 2 of the pieces I'm about to show you are actually shown on toilet cover seats. And also other artists who are local around the South Florida area are Cassie Kaz Williams, Jeff Soto, and Banksy. Another artist who's local around here is LAK Art. Kurt Wenner is known for his Renaissance pieces, which are literally painted onto the concrete streets, which is another form of urban art, believe it or not. Even though he was heavily into knowing about, really into painting Renaissance paintings ever since he was younger, and that's what he was really into, he decided to display it on the concrete floors to give a 3D effect, but still was heavily into Renaissance paintings. A person who followed in his path was a gentleman by the name of Julian Bieber. What set him apart from Kurt Wenner is that Kurt Wenner was more into the Renaissance and Julian Bieber was more into pop art. Some other modern day artists who were into the pop art, or urban art I should say, was Cesar Noble, Kelly Engard, and among some other artists who were into that, there's a bunch of local artists that you could always look up or find on Miami Art Guide, which I don't have posted up. I couldn't find anything of that, but there are, if you look up in Miami Art Guide, it lists many local areas that have artists of that nature. But one of the main areas you'll find them at is in the Miami Art District or in the Wynwood location. It also had an effect on popular animes such as Afro Samurai, which was based on a character who was an Afro Samurai, but everything around it pretty much surrounded anything that you would have found in